This week it's all about Downhill World Cup in Croatia. We're in Italy for the European Marathon Championships and the International XC Series, Argentina for some more downhill, plus the World Champions of cross-country racing in action in Switzerland. Let's get on that start line, shall we? The first round of the UCI World Cup Downhill was what this weekend was always going to be about. The track is totally new, and that means we'd be hard pushed to call a winner beforehand. This first round is always important as it often sets the tone for the year. Big questions to answer. Minnaar, still at speed? Has Gwyn carried his World Cup form over? Is Rachel Atherton fit and back to her best? Or are these names finally overshadowed as the old guard? What about these youngsters? Finn Isles, the Seagrave siblings, Laurie Greenland, the list goes on. A huge swell of talent that were all about to descend on Lošinj in Croatia. This was always going to be awesome racing. Now, this is difficult. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the footage here for the race report. However, let me paint you a picture. It was rocky. Super rocky. Maybe even more so than Fort William, and dust on top of those rocks brought them out to a slick shine. Catching out several riders throughout the day, at around 2 minutes 30 seconds, the track is a short, sharp blast compared to many other tracks on the circuit. Cécile Ravenel was the first woman to put a commanding time down. It didn't last too long though, because smooth riding and good power on the sprints put Tahnée Seagrave clear of Cécile to take the top step. When Miriam Nicole came down, she managed to look both composed and fast over the sharp rocks of Lošinj. She made a lot of her time once the course got going, keeping her speed through the rough stuff well. And Nicole was smashing it, showing good strength on the finishing sprint, keeping a 4-second gap and bagging herself the top spot with only Atherton to come. Rachel, back racing, made smart line choices, kept herself balanced and smooth, but just didn't look as aggressive as Pom Pom on the bike, leaving herself too much time to claim back on the finishing sprint. 3.5 second back at the end. So first Miriam Nicole, second Rachel Atherton, third Tahnée Seagrave, fourth was Marine Cabarrou, and fifth Cécile Ravenel from the Enduro world. Just the start the defending champ would have wanted. Pom Pom on top. Dakota Norton of the USA set an impressive precedent early on in his first World Cup outing on the 29er Da Vinci Wilson. His time would stand the test of several riders to come too. First placed qualifier Brooke McDonald crashed out, suffering a broken collarbone, shame for that. Loris Verger, Danny Hart, Jack Moyer and Laurie Greenland all came close to the time of Norton, but the Americans' time would stand for another 15 riders. Greg Minnaar was looking good as usual, the tall South African looking constantly controlled, almost on rails apart from 1 or 2 kicks here and there, gaining time when the going got tough. It wasn't to be, however, starting this season the same as he ended the last, with a flat tyre. Teammate Lucas Shaw had a much better luck, finally being the rider to take down Norton's long-standing time. Times continued to topple from there, with Sam Blenkinsop too posting a fast one. However, Aaron Gwyn was in a league of his own, carrying unbelievable speed and looking composed whilst doing so. Gwyn was in full attack, beating Shaw's time by 0.8 of a second. Last rider down, Dean Lucas, was fast, but not fast enough, just half a second behind the new race leader. So your top 5 are Gwyn, Lucas, Shaw, Blenkinsop and Norton. A good weekend for American downhill racing. Taking a quick look at the podium, it's Dean Lucas's second time in second place and third career podium in just 3 years. Surely that win is a matter of time. Dakota Norton with a career high of 5th in his first season with team support, and Blenkinsop's best result since Wyndham 2014, where he also finished 4th. Winning all those races at Crankworks and being on the new Norco has rejuvenated his performance, making him a real threat this season, which is great to see. Round 2 of the International d'Italia series followed quickly from last week's opener in Niles. The first round had been littered with World Cup cross-country stars, but this week it was all about the serious series contenders to commence battle. This time at the Ticino XCO in San Marino. Martin Liu took a popular win in the men's race, the Estonian handling the hot conditions and holding off the fastest Italian in the race, Gioli Bertolini. Liu was nearly a minute ahead at the end of this race, so it was a strong and comfortable win. And that also earned him the leader's jersey in the series, just jumping ahead of Bertolini, who had been in pole position for that honour after round 1 where he'd had a great result. In the women's race, we saw Italian national champion Serena Calvetti of KTM Protectama face a big challenge from the exciting young talent of 19-year-old Marika Tovo of Team Rudy Project, the latter giving everything to battle with Calvetti, and by the line the youngster was on her limit and looked close to exhaustion. The tight battle saw these two end the race a long way clear of the nearest challenger, who happened to be Tovo's Rudy Project teammate Giorgia Marche. Both Calvetti and Tovo take a leader's jersey onto the third round. Calvetti, the elite women's of course, and Tovo, the hotly contended under-23s jersey. Once again, we visit the Swiss Bike Cup for round 2, this time in Lošinj, where we saw Scots world champion Nino Schurter compete in the series for the first time in 2018. And as you would expect from the current World Cup champion and Olympic gold medalist, fine form, and he managed the race superbly. Nino was never really under any kind of threat, but that isn't to say second place wasn't hard won by BMC's Lars Forster, who was in touch and well clear of teammate Rito Indegand. In the women's elite, Jolanda Neff was looking to make up for a troubled round 1 race where we'd seen the world champion struggle with mechanicals. In Lošinj, Neff was never able to shake off Alessandra Keller, who appears to have grown in confidence since her win in round 1 and battled throughout the race with Neff. On the final lap, Keller pulled away enough to take the line, and the leader's jersey, the under-23 world champion Sina Frey, brought her Ghost Factory bike home in third, and unfortunately Neff goes home disappointed once again. In the juniors, Joel Roth was locked in a tussle with Joris Reef, a great race. Roth eventually finding a few seconds by the finish line. Congratulations to him. Tina Zuger won the junior women's race by over a minute from Ronja Blochlinger. Congratulations to all of the juniors in those races. A race of tough climbs and fun downhills awaited the competitors in the third round of the Three Nations Cup in Solingen in Germany. And Terpstra was hoping to continue a comeback with good form and looked good early on in the race, but a crash on a technical descent saw an injury to her knee, and eventually she had to retire from the race, which is a real shame. Hannah Klein was not about to miss the opportunity for a race win and capitalised on Terpstra's mistake. Klein's victory looking easy by the end of the race. The Merida Wallonie rider Emmeline Detilu was only 50 seconds behind Klein though, and she was over 3 minutes ahead of Kiki van Asselt. Ben Swehoff was in commanding form in the men's race aboard his Bergamont, riding the fast and technical track with impressive pace. The chasing pack could basically only watch and admire as he pulled away. Nearly 3 minutes had passed before Pierre de Friedmont of Belgium and Eric Groen would sprint it out for the line. Pierre eventually taking that. Junior men was really exciting, and the final sprint was won by Tim van Dijk from Leon Reinhard Kaiser. In the junior women's, it was a very different story, with Franziska Koch having it all her own way with minutes to spare. The village of Angostura looked like an exciting venue for round 1 of the Argentina Downhill Cup this weekend, and we were lucky enough to get a course preview of the downhill track. That fast berms, technical drops and high speed sections on the steep mountainside. It looked absolutely amazing and a lot of fun to ride. But it was obviously going to be a race about who had the pace, not about who had the most fun, and these elements of the track culminated in a course that urged the racers to push their limits. The winning riders would need to string a flowing and consistent run together on this track, and it had good grip, dry berms, although there were still a few wet and sticky bits that had been left from some rain on Sunday morning. In the men's race, Pedro Ferreira from Chile was on amazing form and brought his Commensal down in the fastest time of 2 minutes 38. That time bested second place and top Argentinian Geronimo Paez by 4 seconds. In the women's, it was unfortunately quite a small field, which is a shame on such a good course. However, that's not to deter from a very convincing win for Camila Nogueira aboard her Commensal as well. She managed a time of 3:21, which was 30 seconds faster than her nearest rival. Now, to put that in perspective, Camilla would have finished well inside the top 50 elite men with that time and just outside the top 10 masters. Very impressive racing. Shame she didn't have a bigger field to prove it. Also this week we saw great racing taking place in Spilimbergo in Italy, where the European Marathon Championship took place. Many of the racers themselves would have bet big money on Tiago Ferreira taking the championship here, but the Red Bull athlete just couldn't put a ride together on the day, so surprisingly he didn't feature. So a huge win for Russia's Alexei Medvedev, convincingly beating Italian Samuel Porro in the second spot. The women's racing would come down to the wire between the ever-youthful Gunn-Rita Dale of Norway and World Cup cross-country star Maja Wojciechowska of Poland. And after 5 hours of racing, it was Gunn-Rita who came home just 20 seconds ahead of Maja. That lady just keeps on smashing it, doesn't she? And lastly, thanks to Josh Rita for sending in these shots of his first season riding XC. He tells us he's not the fastest, but he's having fun sending it off the drops. Plus, he'll be trying some Enduro soon. Good for you, Josh. And thanks for sending that in. If you would like to see your picture, your podium shot, your racing videos feature here, and you'd like to tell us a bit about your racing season, then please send it all in to racenews@gmbn.com and we will take a look, and you could feature here in the show. Thank you so much for watching. The racing's been great this week. If you'd like to see some more from GMBN, then why don't you click here where you can see me and Blake trying to show you how to do a session on a riding spot. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give us those thumbs. We'll see you next week.